session, I want to just very quickly take you through the data that is provided within EODH. So as I've mentioned, there's both open and commercial data, and this session is going to look at the open data side of things. The other thing to note is that there's both climate and EO image data available, and we're going to go through both of those as well. So as Alastair pointed out in his previous session, you can go to the staging EOData Hub link and then find information about both the open data and the proprietary data there. And for ease, I've put the URL here. The open data are available for you to look around and interact with on the EODH with the most basic account that was there, and without a user account as well. You can just find data. So the first one that I wanted to go through was sort of the EO data sets and EO related data sets in terms of sort of imagery and sort of pictures of the surface of the and data derived from that. So we have a stat catalog of Sentinel-1 SLC, that's single look complex data. That's shown in the larger image, the sort of green and blue colors on the right-hand side. The really nice thing actually about using the SLC data is that it can be used for applications around SAR interferometry and looking at coherence. Although I'm not going to present anything about that today, one of the tasks that I've had as part of doing the Pathfinder project is investigating how you might do that, what tools you might use, and what data sets. The data are very large, but it's really interesting to know that you can use tools within the EOData Hub, a Jupyter Hub instance, to process up coherence imagery. So it's yeah, some really neat applications that you can do around that. The second EO-related dataset that I want to mention is the land cover dataset from European Space Agency's Climate Change Initiative, the CCI. So an example of that is shown in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see the sort of greens and the yellows. And this is a 300-meter spatial resolution product, and it's available for each year between 1992 and 2015. So again, if you're looking for information in terms of land cover change and that sort of thing, then being able to search and access that data set is a really useful service that's provided by EODH. And then the final one that's been mentioned multiple times today is JNCC's Sentinel-2 ARD. So an example of that is the satellite image that you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of those three images. And this is effectively a modified Sentinel-2 surface reflectance product. So it's processed up to level 2 using the ArcSea software. And again, there's a dedicated time series currently in this archive, but it's this type of product that we're interested in understanding whether or not users want to interact with that more. And then moving on to talk a little bit more about the climate data, and in particular the climate data that's been harvested from the CEDAR Stack API. There's a number of different data sets that are in there. And again, the eagle-eyed amongst you watching Dan's talk this morning will have seen some of these images and would have seen mention of some of these data sets as well. So we have a data set called CMIP6, which is looking at basically comparing different model outputs. And so again, it's a big global modeling comparison exercise, and the data is held by CEDAR and available through the hub. Similarly, Cordex is a downscaling product where it takes various different climate variables and then downscales those for a given area. And there are different ways that you can search for and interact with those as well. Dan mentioned the gridded UK climate projections data set. So that was released, I think, in 2018 is the one that's in the system. And you can see an example of that of the UK map in the top right-hand corner of those three images. And again, this maybe not so much amongst the sort of Earth observation sector that I tend to interact with, but I am aware that this is a data set that practitioners who are not necessarily spatially aware of methods of processing spatial data and don't use spatial data day to day, this is something that I know they're quite keen on using. So it's great that it's in there in the catalogue as well. And then there's a European Space Agency sea surface temperature, again from the Climate Change Initiative. So that data set is looking at the temperature of the very sort of surface film of the oceans. And linked to that are some data sets that come from EOSIS as well. So again, we have a sea surface temperature product, and then we also have some measurements around sea surface temperature and land surface temperature from for daytime and nighttime readings. And then also linked to EOSIS as well is a series of monthly and daily products derived from Sentinel-3, looking at monitoring aerosol concentrations around various parts of the globe. So all of these are data sets that anyone can access, and I'll be showing later on how you might start to do that using some of the tools that we've developed. But also you'll be able to do that using the interactive front end that Dan was talking about as well. I think at that point it's probably the end. Yes, that's the end of my introduction to the open data sets. If you have any specific questions, please drop them in the chat and we'll try to answer them. But I think it's probably of more criticality at this point that we move on to the commercial data sets and really find out what they can offer and what they're bringing to you as users of the EO Data Hub.